When most people think of Chicago, they think of skylines, deep dish pizza, and historic neighborhoods. But for years, national headlines have focused on something else. Crime statistics, shootings, and political debate have shaped the city's modern image. Cable news cycles often reduce Chicago to numbers scrolling across the screen, yet those numbers rarely tell the full story. Behind every arrest, every police report, and every court case, there is an underground economy operating in plain sight. It's not random chaos. It's structured, organized, and financially motivated. Like any economy, it runs on supply, demand, labor, and profit. The difference is that this one exists outside the legal system. Street level activity connects to larger networks most residents never see. Cash moves through informal channels that rarely leave paper trails. Neighborhood disputes often mask deeper financial incentives. What appears to be isolated violence can sometimes be tied to economic competition. To understand crime in Chicago, you have to follow the money. And once you do, a hidden system begins to emerge. Chicago's underground crime economy doesn't operate like a centralized cartel, but instead through fragmented neighborhood-based groups that control micro-territories. Research on street gang patterns show that even traditional gang structures involve distinct territories, regular meeting patterns, and continuous criminal activity, with younger offenders often at highest risk of involvement. In many parts of the city, these factions, sometimes referred to as sets, evolve fluidly rather than maintaining rigid leadership hierarchies. These groups adapt quickly as enforcement pressure displaces activity from one area to another. Where once larger crews dominated, modern networks resemble loose alliances with overlapping influence rather than formal command. Territory functions as economic real estate, determining who can sell drugs or operate illegal markets on a given block. Chicago's geography plays a role. Its intensive transit network and interstates provide mobility that benefits both legal and illegal supply channels. Data shows that violent crime and property crimes have fluctuated over recent years, but the underlying activity often follows economic logic rather than random distribution. Gang-related incidents remain significant. Over 4,000 Chicagoans were killed in gang-attributed crimes over the last 2 decades, according to the analysis of police data. Even as official gang involvement statistics shift due to data tracking changes, experts note that fragmentation can make gang behavior harder to trace. With decentralized networks, enforcement efforts that target individual leaders often leave structural patterns intact. Criminal communications increasingly leverage encrypted messaging and informal social networks, complicating traditional policing. This decentralized terrain enables fast redistribution of resources when arrests or crackdowns occur, keeping economic activity alive. Where large groups once claimed broad swaths, today's underground economy is defined by dozens of smaller revenue streams. This structure makes analysis and intervention far more complex, requiring data-informed strategies rather than reactive policing alone. Narcotics distribution remains a core revenue source in Chicago's hidden crime economy, and drug markets interact closely with territory control and violence. While federal and local data show crime rates shifting over time, drug offenses are among the categories that contribute to persistent underground economic activity. Historically, heroin was a dominant illicit market in the city, but the rise of synthetic opioids like fentanyl has reshaped supply and demand dynamics. Fentanyl's potency makes it easier to transport smaller quantities with higher profit margins, increasing its appeal to distributors compared with traditional heroin. Because fentanyl is cheaper to produce and could be more lethal, its spread has also dramatically increased overdose deaths in the metropolitan areas nationwide. Chicago's strategic location along national transportation corridors allows narcotics to move through layered distribution networks, sometimes crossing multiple states before arriving at street-level sellers. Mid-tier distributors manage bulk supplies and allocate to smaller crews. These intermediates function as informal wholesalers in the underground market. Small street dealers rarely control supply independently, relying instead on cash exchanges and quick turnover to sustain profitability. This cash-centric exchange minimizes digital footprints, complicating law enforcement investigations. While violent crime data and arrests fluctuate year by year, narcotics offenses continue to represent a significant part of Chicago's overall crime profile. Enforcement pressure in one area often shifts activities elsewhere, a pattern seen in other major cities as well. Data from multi-city studies suggests that drug offenses, like other crime categories, can decline or rise based on reporting practices, policing strategies, and broader socioeconomic trends. Chicago's narcotic markets adapt whenever disruptions occur, showing high resilience in the face of enforcement. This adaptability means that even when crackdowns temporarily reduce activity in one neighborhood, operations can reemerge elsewhere. The financial incentive of narcotics, high profit relative to risk, make it one of the most persistent elements of the hidden crime economy. Retail theft has emerged as one of the most visible parts of Chicago's hidden crime economy, with rising incidents reshaping both business operations and street-level criminal networks. Council on Criminal Justice data shows Chicago retail theft rate in 2023 was up approximately 46% compared with the same period 1 year earlier, and higher than any of the preceding 6 years. Industry analysis indicates that Illinois merchants lost an estimated $2.9 billion in revenue due to the retail theft in 2022 alone. While not all retail theft is classified in public crime data as organized, many incidents involve coordinated crews targeting high-value goods. The CPD owned retail theft data shows a notable increase in reported incidents year over year. Hotspots like downtown, Lakeview, and Lincoln Park show concentration of these incidents, suggesting spatial patterns tied to economic opportunity. Bro, because I went to Ross the other day, the AP, the asset protection, bro, now made me sit in the fucking square for like 30 seconds. I'm like, yo, am I getting a VIP red carpet rollout? Why the fuck am I have to stay in a box for 30 seconds before you let me in this bitch, bro? Some offenders operate across jurisdictions. A Chicago organized retail crime task force case involved a suspect wanted in multiple states for stealing over $43,000 worth of merchandise. In response to these trends, local prosecutors have partnered with national task forces to mount coordinated crackdowns involving hundreds of arrests across dozens of states. These operations recover stolen goods, cash, vehicles, and sometimes weapons, illustrating how retail crime intersects with broader underground markets. Fraudulent resale markets, including online marketplaces and formal cash for goods storefronts, help circulate stolen merchandise back into the economy. Retail theft isn't confined to fringe storefronts. Major chains like Target and Walgreens have reported disproportionately high numbers of theft reports according to crime data. This dynamic creates indirect costs for consumers as businesses raise prices and implement loss prevention measures. Some national surveys report that since 2019, retailers have seen a surge, nearly doubling in shoplifting incidents and related financial losses. This sustained rise suggests that retail crime is more than occasional, opportunistic activity. It's a structurally embedded economic sector. Law enforcement and policymakers increasingly treat organized retail theft as a hybrid between economic crime and underground criminal enterprise. Violence often accompanies Chicago's crime economy, not merely as random acts, but as mechanisms of enforcement and reputation maintenance within illicit markets. Data shows that overall serious crime in Chicago increased significantly from 2018 through 2022, with notable rises in robbery, theft, and motor vehicle theft. Though recent reports indicate certain categories of violent crime have declined in some years, the interaction between violent and economic crime remains critical. Research on gang patterns in Chicago historically links territorial disputes, particularly among micro-gang sets, to competition over revenue streams and control, even if formal hierarchical structures are absent. Where territorial control correlates with income opportunities, drug sales, theft markets, unauthorized vending, disputes can escalate into interpersonal violence. Weapon circulation further complicates this dynamic, with stolen or illegally obtained firearms often used as tools of intimidation or enforcement within informal markets. Social media, digital communication, and public visibility can serve as both recruitment tools and conflict escalation mechanisms. Violent incidents, when examined alongside economic data, often cluster in areas with dense underground market activity. In some years, homicide patterns have shown younger individuals disproportionately affected, consistent with national studies of gang-related violence and economic marginalization. This isn't to justify violence, but to contextualize it within a framework where economic incentives shape behavioral outcomes. Disputes over territory or access to profitable markets can manifest as retaliation or preemptive attacks. Without lawful dispute resolution mechanisms or viable economic alternatives, violence becomes a form of regulation. Efforts to reduce violence must therefore address the structural economic factors that fuel both conflict and opportunity for profit. Chicago's hidden crime economy has quantifiable costs that extend far beyond the individuals directly involved. Major crime data analysis shows that theft and property crimes have been significant contributors to overall crime trends in Chicago, in some years exceeding other categories. The business community has reported extensive losses due to retail theft, with billions lost statewide and recovery efforts illustrating how widespread the problem is. These losses impact commercial rent prices, insurance premiums, and overall economic stability in affected neighborhoods. Costs of enforcement, policing, court processes, incarceration require large portions of municipal budgets that could otherwise support community services. Chicago's position as an economic hub makes these impacts resonate beyond local boundaries, affecting tourism, investment, and business retention. As we could see downtown, it's really struggling. Neighborhoods with high rates of underground economic activity often overlap with areas experiencing lower access to quality employment and education. This creates structural inequality where legitimate economic opportunity is scarce and informal markets thrive as an alternative income source. Public resources then balance between enforcement and social interventions, with mixed results in crime statistics over the years. Even analysis showing declines in certain crimes, such as violent offenses in recent years, highlight how complex crime and economic patterns remain. Breaking the cycle requires policy approaches that target underlying economic incentives, not just arrest numbers or punitive measures. Programs that expand job training, employment pathways, and legal economic participation can reduce reliance on underground channels. Without addressing these deeper economic drivers, the hidden crime economy adapts and persists alongside legitimate markets. Chicago's story shows that understanding crime requires examining both the social and economic systems that sustain it.